Okay. Hi,
All
Ursina.
right. Hey, Marie.
So I'm Barry Kreining, and I'm here with Ursina Teuscher, and we are colleagues. Um, I am working as a leadership development coach for mostly introverted leaders, help them be confident and confident leaders and impactful leaders through their communication. And Ursina is a longtime colleague of mine, and she works with people in organizations and individuals as well. And I thought it would be, we reconnected over the last few months, actually through a Zoom meeting of a group that we're both a member of. So it was really fun to chat with Ursina and just see what's going on. So we decided to record some of that. And I would like to introduce Ursina to you as has a PhD in applied psychology and a career counseling license from the University of Freiburg in Switzerland. And as a decision coach and consultant and facilitator, Ursina helps people and organizations think creatively and systematically about their decisions and achieving their goals. She has co-authored a book called Heart and Mind, Mastering the Art of Decision Making, and has published numerous peer-reviewed research articles in cognitive and applied psychology, neuroscience, and decision making. She currently teaches decision making at Portland State University and decision counseling at Lewis and Clark College. Her consulting and educational projects include strategic planning for business and nonprofit organizations and postgraduate training courses for career counselors. Welcome, Ursina. And, you know,
Thank you so much.
we've told a little bit about what we want to talk about today, but the question that I often get and that people might be interested in is how did you get to do the work that you're doing now? What is your professional path to all of this?
Yeah, it was definitely not a linear path, but I guess in hindsight, there are some things that make sense when I look back. I got my career counseling license in Switzerland, and during that, just the counseling education that we got there, I always found that I struggled when I had to give some advice to people who did not know what to do with as a decision, that they didn't know what to do, and they came to me for advice about career decisions. And I felt like the counseling tools that we learned, which were good tools, we got a good like counseling education and therapy tools and all that, but I felt like there was something lacking, that I was not able to help people actually make a decision if they didn't know what to do. And I was very lucky that there was another professor in that same department whose research field was actually decision making, had nothing to do with counseling, but he was a research in decision making. And he pointed me to this whole field of research and literature on just how to support people in making good decisions. And that there's so much that's out there that's been used mainly for bigger, like strategic decisions, military decisions. There's a lot of research and a lot of like good stuff out there that people are tools that people are using, but they're not really taught in a counseling environment, or at least not that I had heard of before then.
Like
And
with
so that,
individuals, you mean?
yeah, and so that was really exciting for me to even learn that. Yeah, maybe I could apply that. And I went into research and like postdoctoral research and all that, and after also doing some writing a thesis actually about these decision tools. But then after some convoluted path there, which I think is very normal for a lot of careers these days, that we veer off into different directions. And eventually I started teaching a decision-making class here at Portland State. That was more of a fortuitous event, I think. And that inspired me, seeing how these tools, again, are so helpful for the students that I was teaching them to. I realized that I really want to go back to counseling and apply those tools to actual decisions that people come to me for help with. And a lot of what I've been doing has been helping people again with career decisions and doing
Yeah.
my career counseling with these tools, but also other decisions that either people or organizations are coming to me with.
So thank you. Is it a decision-making process internally that fascinates you about your work, or what's your passion really about?
Yeah, I think there is something very empowering about just knowing that I can make a good decision. Any decision that I approach, I know how to think about it, how to help people think about it. But even for myself, um, recognizing in the first place what decisions I have and what part of my life are decisions that I want to make, and maybe other parts of my life are things that I need to accept the way that they are, and that I want to accept the way they
Yeah.
are. And so that's where the challenge already begins. And I think it's maybe the most empowering thing for me in life to think that I can make good decisions, because eventually, if everything else goes wrong in life, if you still know that you can make good decisions, that is sometimes that may be all that remains, but that's a big thing to
Well,
still
yeah, I can
have
imagine
power
it
over.
gives you a lot of security. I mean, it gives me a lot of security if I have all the information to make a decision,
Mm-hmm.
and then even a decision to not do anything, could
Yes,
already resolve some of the insecurity or ambiguity that we have,
absolutely.
because you made a decision. Great. Yeah. And nowadays, with everything that's going on in the world, we have so many decisions that we're needing to make. And I hear that with my clients too. Decisions like, um, are we going back to the office or not? And what format will that be? Are we letting people work from home? Do we trust people to work from home? Decisions about career changes, people that don't have jobs, people that have jobs but they're not quite happy in it, but now is not the time to change jobs. So there's a ton, and just as leaders, naturally we have like 20, 30 decisions in a day that we need to make. So curious to hear from you, what was your most challenging professional decision, and what did you learn about that?
Mm. Yeah, I think for me, it was the decision to start my own business. Eventually, that was probably the biggest and the most, certainly the one that felt most risky or most daring. And I think it's not just so much a financial risk, but also just the uncertainty with going down a path that has not been paved for you, or there's nobody else who did this before me and who could tell me what to do and what training to do. And then it's not like applying for a job, right? It's starting your own thing. Not that applying for a job is necessarily without its risks and
Mhm.
uncertainty, but yeah, for me that was definitely it felt the most challenging. And I think it required the most for me to kind of the confidence of believing that I really have something to offer of value that would warrant that kind of um, going down that path.
Take the risk and jump in. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
What do you see people struggle with in the current situation? What kind of decisions or just challenges with regards to
Uh,
decision making do you see people do like right now?
I think that what's changed most is really the uncertainty. I don't You hear this all the time too. Whenever someone says anything, we say in these uncertain times, right? Or
Yeah.
and it's very much true. I think that's what people feel that very acutely with, and it makes decisions hard if we don't know what's going to happen,
Hmm.
right? And I think a lot of, even if the decision as such stays the same, or the process that stays the same, there is something that changes if we just really, if there's so much uncertainty that it feels almost impossible to make a decision or to choose wisely, because there's no basis for evaluation, or it feels that way sometimes.
Yeah.
Mm.
So with regards to the uncertainty, I'm thinking, hmm, um, how do people,
How to deal with
any
it?
advice for people to deal with that? Because
Yeah.
I can imagine that a lot of decisions also, not even in this time, are based in uncertainty, that we don't know quite know how things work. Let's say moving to another city to accept a job there. So you don't know if you like the city or if you like your
Yeah.
job.
Yeah.
So, what is that? How do you approach that factor of uncertainty in decision making?
I think one thing that's really important is to be aware of which parts of this decision are uncertain and we really don't know, and it's okay to not uh, not be able to actually say anything about that part of the decision. But then there are also other parts that we do actually know, and I think it's important to also acknowledge those and focus on those, like things that we know are our own values, right? But we may not always be aware of that, and we don't actually think about them too often. I think that can be a really important step to take that step back and refocus on what does matter to me. What do I know in myself that, let's say, and there's some good questions to kind of hone into that. Like, let's imagine 30 years from now, what do you know that will still matter to you then? Even if you're not alive anymore at that point, are there things that you think, I know this will still be important? And you can also dial it back, the opposite of that. What do I know is important to me right now? If this was my last week to live, let's say, or last year, what would then be important? And if you combine your answers, you get some really good ideas of your core values, and they're going to be, it's not just one core value, but you might get different answers, but you might realize, okay, I really do want to focus on, let's say, creating deep connections with the people I love, as an example. That could be something that, this is certain. There's no uncertainty there. You can do something about this right now. Right. And you can also, to take it to a career level, you could ask yourself there, what are things that I do know despite the whole uncertainty? Or could I make a good guess as to what part of my skills might still be valuable 5 or 10 or 30 years from now? And what could I do right now to improve those skills, or to connect with the people that might move me into a direction that I think that actually makes sense, regardless of the uncertainty, right? So those are things that I think can be.
That's great. I really like the approach of looking at, what do I know, what do I value, what do I know right now is working, what are my skills right now, and also asking your future self, like 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 years down the road, like, what is still important, and so I like that approach. I use that approach often in my coaching when I look at, when people say, I'm stuck, this isn't working, that's not working, let's focus on what's working.
Yes.
And so usually it's 98% is working, and 2% where we focus on is not working, but the 2% that we're focused on becomes really big. So I can imagine that that's kind of the same with decisions. If you focus on the uncertainty that maybe 10% or 15% part of the decision, then that becomes the whole thing. So
exactly,
really,
and it's exactly the part that it's not really fruitful to worry about, right? And you can lose so much energy with that.
So what career decisions? Some people go back to work right now. Some people are staying home. Some people can choose. Their employers let them choose. So, and then there are the people that want to switch careers maybe right now or not. What are some of the career decisions that are people face? I can't talk right now. That people facing in this transition time of going back to the office or not, and staying home and all that.
Yeah, there are, of course, people are in different situations, but so those who are staying home right now and working from home, I think what a lot of people are struggling with is just how to actually do their work from home with everything going on, and maybe not having privacy, or not having the kind of structure that they usually have. So I think that's a big topic for those who have work but work from home. and then those who have lost their jobs, I think there's a big, maybe even similar challenge to how to structure your day at home, and how to of course look for another job in that moment when it's hard to keep the hope up to, because I think a lot of people feel very acutely how how their chances may have decreased of finding something that they like. And
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I'm curious if the process of decision making is the same for big decisions, like
Mm.
I want to change my career, or I want to talk with my boss about a raise or something like that.
Yeah.
Is this process the same as for little decisions of like, okay, well, I'm going to work on this. That's 11 o'clock. I'm going to work for this for an hour and a half, and then I have lunch, or I'm going on a walk with my child or whatever,
Mm.
so,
Yes.
minor decisions and big decisions. Is the process the same in our head?
Not necessarily. I think if you take a really big picture, you can talk about it in a similar framework, as in we need to figure out what the criteria are, and then we can make good decisions. But really, the process is quite different, because for big decisions, you may really not know. The challenge may be to really find out what you need to do, and you may genuinely not know what the answer is. And it can be helpful to think about it in complex ways, and with tables and trees, and really analyze the risks, and then come to the right answer. Whereas I think a lot of daily decisions that we have, we kind of know what the right answer is, but it's really hard to do it, right? I might already know that I should be getting up and doing this and that during the morning, and then have healthy lunch and whatever. And I may know exactly what the right answer is to a lot of things, but then how to actually do it can be the challenge, right?
Yeah,
And I think but also a lot of decisions are kind of mixed between that, where
yeah, yeah,
we need to figure out, do I actually know what I want to do? And if so, how can I make it happen? So
yeah.
yeah.
Interesting. What is your best advice to people right now who are facing big career decisions or work decisions?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think maybe a part of it I already gave away with my earlier answer, to focus on what you do know, like focus on the values, and focus on where you think you actually know that this is what I need to do.
Mhm.
Um, there would be more to say about how to find that out if you really don't know. But assuming that you do have an idea of what you need to do today to make your life better. I think that the next advice for me would be, and it's something actually I come across a lot with people who approach me for productivity coaching or performance coaching, the question of how to actually do the things you really want to do. And for that, my number one advice, just based on the experience that I have now with working with people, is to make your goals smaller, like make your find something, a threshold for you that's realistic and what I call friendly, something that you know, yes, I can do this, even if you're in a difficult spot right now. Maybe all you can do is once a week do half an hour of something that's really important to you,
Mhm.
and that's gonna be it. But if you get to do that, it will make a difference. And even more so if you can do something every day, or on 5 days of the week. The small, just making it really small and realistic, and build from there. I think that's what I would give as advice.
Yeah.
And because I think that's actually something that's not just my experience. There's also a lot of research showing that if you can make a small change, sometimes that has big effects on the rest of your life. So
Mhm.
even
Yeah.
just getting up at the same time every day, if that's been a challenge so far, that itself can make just a big difference
Yeah.
for some people. And
Yeah.
it's something that, yeah,
Awesome. Oh, that's great.
keep in mind.
So, how do you work with people? You work with people one-on-one, or if people want to know more about your work,
Hmm.
or they're facing a big decision in their work environment, how do you typically help people?
Yeah, so these days I work over Zoom, just like we're talking now. I also we sometimes share documents online to help, depending on, like, for example, think about a decision in visual ways, or but also if it's about productivity coaching and plan things and journal or whatever. There are a lot of things that we can do online that are actually quite nice, or with a shared screen. Um, and yeah, so also with organizations at this point, it's usually over Zoom that we collaborate.
And all your classes are on hold right now at Lewis and Clark and PSU?
They are also online.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yes, yeah, both of those. Yeah,
Online.
yeah,
Yeah.
uh-huh.
Okay, good.
Yeah, it's an adjustment. Yeah,
A whole new world,
yeah,
isn't it? Yeah.
yeah.
Okay, so and people, how can people reach you if they want to get in touch?
Mhm. Yeah, so the easiest is probably over my website. There are also ways to schedule over the website, but also other ways to contact me. And the
Do you
what's
say
it
the
called? The
address?
name, yes, the address of the website is teuscher-coaching.com. So
Okay,
if you know how to spell my last name, Teuscher coaching.com.
okay, great. Okay. Good. So
Yeah.
yeah, thank you so much, Ursina, for your time.
Well,
And
thank you. I really enjoy your questions. Those are,
yeah, yeah. Okay, yeah, really. Like so, we say goodbye to people, and if you like more information, or you want to get in touch with Ursina and you might have lost her information, my information is barry@crowningcommunications.com. And my website is crowningcommunications.com. So yeah, we would love to hear from you and get your feedback on what you learned from this conversation that we had about decision making, because we do it so often during the day and in our lives. So important skill to have. Thank you, Ursina.
thank you, very. It's a pleasure.